Application of the Regional Environment and Natural Heritage Grant. We have Jane and Rachel. Kia ora, if you just want to introduce yourselves to the committee and introduce the paper. I don't think there's a presentation though. Yeah.
Kia ora koutou, ko Rachel Kelleher Takonga. I'm here today as General Manager of Environmental Services, and with me is Jane O'Hagan, who is going to present or talk to any questions you have around the Regional Environment and Natural Heritage Grant. Jane is one of our Senior Conservation Advisors who's worked on this grant program for this round.
Kia ora, Rachel, and probably for the 5 or 6 rounds before that too, so it's been a while. We're requesting the committee's approval of the allocation of 28 grants that come up to an amount of 575,924. That will allocate the full use of the budget plus some money from our Healthy Waters colleagues. We'll take the report as read, but I'm here for any questions that anyone may have.
Kia ora, thank you so much. I know there's a huge amount of work goes into this. The Deputy Mayor would like to move, and Councillor Dalton, were you signalling you wanted to? Oh, cool. Councillor Dalton can second, or my name's up there already. The one question I had, and maybe I'll give to Councillor Dalton first because it might be the same question, so I'll let you go first in case it is. Councillor Dalton.
Thank you, and thank you for all of the work that you've done on this. I just wondered where at some point we can really understand the value of the volunteer hours that are returned from these grants, because it may appear to some that we're granting money when we haven't got any, supposedly, but actually the incredible value that is put into our city. And I know that's in lots of ways, right? That's the human hours, but it's also what we don't have to do, so human hours on our side as well, and the value add of the partnerships that we have, because the grants, they just must return, I don't know how many dollars to one that we're extending out. So it'd be great to get that if anyone does that work at some point. Thank you.
We have got those figures to hand as part of the application process. Applicants have to submit in-kind contributions, and that does include the volunteer hours, and there's a set value that those hours accrue. So I can certainly provide the committee with that information.
I think it'd be interesting because, of course, they will also be getting other third-party funding, which might not even go in here. So the value is add. It just helps us to really appreciate our why is to doing this. Thank you.
Kia ora, Councillor. And I think there has been studies of the dollar we put in gets about $11 to $13 of impact, and often these groups are working in our parks that otherwise contracts would have to be, if we're wanting the same level of work, we would have to fund quite significant contracts. My question was just on and we did discuss this in the pre-agenda, around other funding going to South Auckland. South is slightly below average in the number of, obviously you have to take in the applications, and obviously the central is slightly overinflated with the Gulf Islands. It's not exactly central Auckland, Waiheke and Aotea. But could you just go through the process of how we can ensure that groups that maybe don't already have good connections with the council, or they don't have the big environment groups because they may lack the current environment that, say, in my area with fantastic native bush already, how are we helping those South Auckland boards to get this regional funding? And I think, Rachel, you may have mentioned that there were other funds going into South groups that weren't through the grant. So,
Kia ora, thank you, Chair. So obviously this is a grant that's focused on protecting high value ecosystems across the region. So that asset is not proportionately distributed, unfortunately. So we do tend to see differences in where the grants get allocated, but we do build that geographic consideration into the recommendations that we make to you. As you mentioned, there's a number of ways that we do support community-based activity across the region, and we have a number of groups that are actively working across the southern part of the region, and some of those are being funded through different streams. The Natural Environment Targeted Rate is supporting a number of those groups, including through our Conservation Coordination Grant Fund that we run as an operational fund. We also have some different models of work where we, for example, are working with the Awhitu community, where they are directly delivering some of the pest control works that we would otherwise be delivering, and so we fund them and support them with that work. So there are a number of different ways we're working with communities. This is one of those tools, but we do absolutely try and get a good regional spread as much as we can with the grant applications that we receive. Just one of the things I might just mention is we did pick up that in one of the tables there's a reference to the Rodney being in the western geographic area, which of course we know also covers the northern parts of the region. The region it was picked up in that western, just for clarification, is that some of the projects that are being funded are geographically out west.
Good, thank you for that. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Chair. And look, thanks to this, I actually thought it was quite well spread, to be honest, even though that wasn't the objective. The objective was to fund the best projects for Auckland. But my question is, when we fund things like this, which I'm very supportive of, I kind of need a report from the end of this year of the projects we have supported and what has been the advantage to Auckland from that funding. Now, we've talked about the advantage of the volunteer network, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's about the delivery of the service or the environmental outcome that is enhanced an area. So can we have something like that? Because I think in times of, we're all here trying to save money and everything else, and I just want to be very clear, I'm appreciative. I want to know the outcome of the funding and how important it is and what a difference it actually does make. And I think it's important not just to give it out, but to have the report back from the organisations and from you as to that positive effect.
I think that's certainly something we could look at. As James mentioned, we capture the contribution that groups make in a range of ways, and we also monitor the outcomes that are being delivered through the grant program. We report on the community coordination, conservation coordination grants through the NETA annual report, and I'm just wondering whether there might be an opportunity to also comment on the broader contribution that we're making through this regionally funded grant as well through that process. But we'll take that away and have a look at the best way to do that, because I think I agree with you, it would be great to have a bit more visibility for everyone around the contribution that community groups are making towards conservation outcomes across the region.
I mean, it's sort of 23 positive stories here, so I'm a great believer of accentuating the positive. So I'll leave it to you to find out a way, but just let's do it, eh?
Yeah, I think, thanks Deputy Mayor, I think it would be good maybe through the NETA, then it's kind of a place to hold it, because I will say that through the LTP we did actually vote to reduce some of the requirements of groups on these smaller grants, because it does take a lot of staff time to go back and forth, and those community groups junior volunteer, and they have to do a lot of presentations back to us. So we had actually reduced some of that requirement, but there are ways to, we do get photos sent through and different things from most of those groups. So if there was just a way to present that, even in the attachments, would be a good way. Thank you. Mayor Brown.
Thanks. It generally looks pretty good stuff, I've got to say. I've got two things. This is a thing where we respond to what people come to us with, but there are some things that pop up that we don't sort of think, and Kalupa's popped up, and there doesn't seem to be anything here about that. And sometimes I wonder whether or not we shouldn't be just keeping an eye, instead of just, we get involved in our box ticking exercises. But right at the moment is a real problem that's suddenly arrived and growing bigger all the time. And we've got 30 grand for building enduring relationships, whatever that means, at Kaipatiki. All the evidence actually say that they're doing something. I don't know how you spent that, but I'd have thought, I'd like to have seen Kalupa showing up here, even if it hadn't actually come from somebody filling in a form. If that's possible, we can have a bit more of an aggressive thing. And what exactly does building enduring relationships for the protection mean? I know that we're possum free and unowned cat control, which is quite interesting because it's a Maui dolphin buffer. I'm right into getting rid of cats, so don't worry about that.
Thank you. Through the chair, that's a very good point in terms of the how are we supporting the community-led response to Kaulupa. And I did just mention that there are a number of other ways that we're working with communities. One of the, with the contestable grant, of course, it's a contestable process and it's capped to $50,000. So the work that we're doing with communities on the Kaulupa response, we're actually funding out of the targeted rate budget. This is a regionally funded budget, and it does exceed that 50,000. So it's one of those pieces of work where, as you've identified, there's a strategic alignment with what we're needing to deliver, and we want to work with communities to do that. So we are supporting that, but it's just not showing up through this particular funding stream.
Good answer, thank you.
And just so you know, we are working with, like with that patch that popped up last week, Mayor, you know, the team are working on that right now. We've got teams that's separate to a grant situation, but we do find operational funding and teams to work with Doc and others to, so, because that is quite a small patch, we're hoping to treat and remove as we can. So there is lots of work going on that doesn't necessarily sit in a grant round yet. Councillor Walker.
I just wanted to just toss some information in. So I'm on the Haraka Golf Forum. We really need to get a better reporting line from that forum to council, because quite clearly, if it's not obvious, there's a huge effort going in around Kaulupa through that forum, and that forum embraces constituent organisations, MPI, DOC, the whole regional response, because you've got multiple councils involved around the Kaulupa issue. So I just tossed that in.
We are going off track, but maybe we could tie that in. Rachel, did you want to just talk about, we are getting those regular updates through the committee, Councillor Walker through memo, but I have asked Rachel and Phil Brown last week if we could have a wider update as things seem to be changing. If you just want to give a tiny brief update on that to close that off. Rachel.
Yes, I can, thank you. And just on that note of being active, it has been quite a busy week for us. So on Tuesday, we were out with divers dealing with that small patch that's been found near Omaha. And we've also got some trial work underway with Auckland University looking at using ultraviolet light as a potential control mechanism for particularly more sparse patches of Kaulupa. So there's, it's quite a bit of innovative and exciting work happening. There was also this week the first of the meetings for a national advisory group that's been stood up, which represents a range of different interests across the sector, including regional councils, iwi, some of the fishing interest groups, working together with MPI to start the process of building a more cohesive national plan. So we will bring some of the output from that discussion, as well as the current activity that's underway, into a memo in July. But I've also, as Richard said, will provide him with a briefing as to where we're at currently.
So thank you, Councillor, and thanks, Rachel. Councillor Dalton and I have been meeting fairly regularly with the team, but we're kind of been not avoiding bringing it. We're just, those memos have been helping, but I think as things change, there'll be another time where we should have a presentation. There just is no decision making, so it's more of a briefing than a report. Thank you, Rachel. Councillor Henderson. All right. Cool. Councillor Turner.
Thank you. I might have missed it. I didn't hear an answer to the Mayor's question about building enduring relationships. Is it an enduring relationship with our partners not built with how well we perform with and for them and join together with them? How do we spend money on building an enduring relationship?
The enduring relationships are between Kaipariki Project and the community. It's not us paying them to work with us.
My point is that a enduring relationship comes with our relationship with them by being good partners. How do you take money and buy an enduring relationship? What's that being spent on?
through the chair, I think just to clarify that some of the headings that are used in this report format represent the way the community has articulated their project, the project that they're seeking funding for, and in this case it's a project that group is working on to protect native species and ecosystems in the area. So I think it's more a reflection of how they've framed the way they see their work with the community. But if you would like some more detail on that specific grant project, we can provide that.
That's fine. I don't need to put you if it's the way they've worded it, but it's a very abstract thing to be spending money on. Thanks.
You're good. Thanks. Councillors and Mayor, I think if you read the attachments for what and obviously their application is far broader than the small amount we put in there. It's around building the work with the schools, mana whenua, community they're doing halos in those areas. They're essentially working with parts of the community who are doing a huge amount of work. There are groups, removing moss plant all over the place. There are groups doing planting, all non-council funded stuff. So this is around helping fund a program of work that builds those relationships so community are empowered to do the work without, council having to fund that work all the time. So I think, maybe we could look at the headings, but if you look at the attachment, it does explain in far more detail what that application is for. So I think it's just more a sentence that was put in there to kind of give a broad overview. And it's the relationships with the community and stakeholders, not relationship with council. That's all the questions I have. Right, we can I'll get you to move from the table so we can briefly debate it, if there is debate. Councillor Deputy Mayor, did you want to say anything? Cool. And myself too, this is great work, small investment into community organisations to get a huge outcome. We know it's really important. So, okay. I just wanted, Councillor Fletcher, would you like me to declare the perceived conflict?
Oh no, there's a standing, I've got a
Okay,
standing position there, but I just wanted to point out that I wasn't participating in the debate.
Thank you. I mean, my perspective is you don't have a conflict, but it's up to you to decide if you do. So as a patron of an organisation, thank you very much. Right, all those in favour? Any opposed? No, perfect. Thank you all. And thanks, Councillor Fletcher, for that. We move to item 9, the strategic